to make it fresh, make it culturally authentic, make it healthier.
My name is Louise Newsom, and you're listening to The Makers, brought to you by Trade and Prosper. On this episode, you will meet Yong Zhao, co-founder, and Xuhui Zhang, director of real estate development and architectural design of Junzi, a small but growing restaurant chain serving northern Chinese food. Founded in 2015, Junzi grew out of a hunger for the founder's childhood staples made with healthy, seasonal ingredients to be made here in the States where they now lived. Yet recreating the taste of home has done much more, understanding now how the power of food can build community and exposure to other cultures.
In 2006, I came in the United States for graduate school at Yale. So after I graduated from college.
Right, and what were you studying in Beijing and then when you came to the United States?
I studied the conservation biology in the Peking University in their first liberal arts program called Yuanpei program. It's granted called Yuanpei School. In the life science part, I specifically very interested in the environment and also animal protection stuff. And then came to Yale for the environmental science major. Shifted a little bit from the conservation biology into more biogeochemistry, which is study carbon cycle, which is the foundation of climate change. My idea was that moment is thinking about go back to China, work in the government to solve the climate or environmental problems.
That's a big task.
That's a big task. And then eventually, I think 2011, I started to realize, first I think climate change or in a bigger scale, global warming, it's very hard to solve only by government. And then working through government is a really hard task itself, no matter even to think about the problem itself. But before that, you need really climb your ranks in the government, which is really risky and a tough task at the moment. So I think about maybe I should focus on something I'm more passionate about. At the moment, I realize entrepreneurship is more and more become something I really want to do. So 2011 is where we start really think about be a startup entrepreneur down the road.
So that's when Junzi came about?
2011 is early. 2011 is where we start thinking about being an entrepreneur down the road, which is rare because most people in the Yale environment, they want to be in their career track as a professor or work in the banking or consultant. But for us, being an entrepreneur is kind of something really far away and we don't even know where to start. So 2011 we started with, okay, if we want to do a business as an entrepreneur level, it's an innovative business, but first startup we need to do a business, understand a business. Because before that, I'd never been to any company, work for anybody. So I think 11, me and my wife, all graduated from Yale. She graduated from Yale at the moment. We started to do this little frozen yogurt franchisee thing. That was an interesting venture to start to learn basic things, cash management, right? Dealing with real estate, dealing with lawyers. We'd never been there before. We only deal with our, advisors. Right? Well, the first store was really popular. We opened the second one and third one. But until the third one, we'll start to realize it's not because we're brilliant to make a store great, because the market needed it, and there are no supplies. And by the time we opened the third store, everybody opened the frozen yogurt down the block. Like somebody opened the 5 together, like within the same small town. Like people realize, oh wow, like this becomes really packed. So everybody basically ran our business. We opened the store in 2012. So the first store still opens right now. We still have it. But I think we closed the third one after half year. And we closed the second one after 4 to 5 years. Basically run up the term of the lease. By that moment, we realized a business is something, it's very complicated, but in the meantime, it's simple as you have to be in the kind of monopoly side of the supply part. You have to have innovation, to have an entry barrier, to make the combination or replication of your business. It's not that easy.
What learnings did you take from that to understand how you could build out Junzi and make it different and make it stand
Well, it's a
out?
huge learning first for international students who study in the school to learn the basics, even dealing with just the whole environment as an average American went through. Because we've never been to it's every tower we've been at Yale, right? Everything's nice, the building is old and beautiful, right? And you have enough fundings for the interest of science. But when you're dealing with reality, you see people have struggling with minimum wage. So all these things to think about a business model, think about competitions, think about how can I make sure the ecosystem I'm trying to create with the idea trying to have, how to survive in the reality. And because innovation is basically central, the heart of this entrepreneurship. So we have to understand reality to think about innovation from the reality. Otherwise, you'll be out of touch. So I think that overall the learning of the basic business, how tough the business environment is, and have some meaningful relationship with our partners is very important from off the bat when we start the Junzi. Because Junzi start with big ideas, but it start grow through this little things such as we need to open the first store, we need to negotiate first lease. And that's very hard as well. So for us, as we've been learning or been through, it's similar to every immigrant, that you have to learn fast as you can. You have to be very humble. And you have to be willing to learn a lot of new things, understand other people. So for me, it's like a little practice every day is I started to stop watching like Chinese movies, contents, start really emerging to the whole all English environment to basically watch all the talk shows, Stephen Colbert shows, to be able to learn all the jokes.
Hopefully good talk shows.
Yeah, it's all good talk shows, right? Like start learn, if I don't get that jokes, maybe I'm still outsider, right? I start really learn all the small talks, right?
That's
learn all the movie, music, sports, to understand why people talk about it, what's the big deal about it, all these names, all the histories, stories, to really merge into this environment to be able to, in the future, lead an American company. Because otherwise, I cannot really understand what my teammates want or think about what's good and bad. As a CEO of the company, I'm become more a leader. So I have to be really connect with the people I'm together with. So being connected is very important so that I have to learn how they grew up.
right.
Yeah, on the top of what I grew up with. So I do have two lives, right? It's two worlds.
Right, but that could be, well, and I believe, because I'm also not from this country, it's a positive.
Yeah, it's definitely positive.
I mean, you're a broader thinker by the end of it, right?
Yes. So in the leadership theory, you have to be a second born. So you have born again to be able to lead a great company. So I think for all the immigrants, team member from our team, we all had a kind of second born life already being set up.
Yong, what have some of the biggest challenges been for you as a founder and co-owner of Junzi?
There is a challenge, a common challenge entrepreneurs. So it's basically you don't have enough resources, do the thing you want to do. And then you have very limited time, limited budget. As a team, we basically work 6 days a week for the first 4 years of this. And for me, I still work like that way to really make it work. We do have a challenge of immigration status, how to find a visa, stuff like that. Because although we already created more than 100 jobs in America, but it's very hard for us to easily find a visa without spending too much time on it, too much money on it. That's another part of current immigration in America is like really hard. And also Chinese food, because when people learn about China or talk about Chinese food, they have all the kind of existing stereotypes about it. So it's just hard to change it, or hard to say, hey, we have something new and better, and that's more true. So you have to change or battle with people's already fixed stereotypes about us, right? It's similar to all the immigrants, right? In America, it's like that. You have the little box, you've been contained with, and now you're saying we're gonna break it because that's not true, or it's just too small. Our basically idea from the very beginning is we want to get our communication all in-house together, because as I mentioned, the biggest challenge is about that little bandwidth usually to give a Chinese brand. That little things you have to play with existing icons, stereotypes. You have to break it, but not totally just break too much and people start to, I don't understand that, right?
Right.
So communication was the most important challenge and also opportunity for us. So from very beginning, we have all the designers, all the marketers, PR, all together to create different message. From the drawing, the first little sketch, to the architectural design, to the branding narratives, and to the PR pieces, it's all done in-house to make sure it's all integrated together. So that's one of the biggest innovation, because in 2015, we had one interesting Chinese food conferences in a kind of Longhouse revival event by one of the columnists from New York Times. So we find out in this Chinese food conference, there's no Chinese there. Talk about it. People who create the food doesn't have the voices. So you have to really grasp on the voice part. From messaging, from the way you can tell to who, that part of things, from design, you have to control all together. So that's very important for the whole team to build on that innovation. But of course, the risk is, it may be overkill, maybe it doesn't work, maybe we're too early for this, maybe it costs too much, and that's all the risk of being a startup venture creation part.
The Makers is brought to you by Trade and Prosper. Here we share the stories of individuals and businesses that make our communities. We believe in those who are committed to doing well by doing good, using their hands, minds, and hearts to create a better place for us all, and believe that a little sweat and a lot of sharing turns a community into a populace of prosperity. Trade and Prosper is a forum where those like-minded individuals meet to trade ideas, information, goods and services, as well as build long-lasting relationships that enable them to expand their reach locally and also globally. For more information on our organization and for more podcast episodes, head over to tradeandprosper.com. Follow us on social media for the latest news and events about businesses near you. So, thinking about your business development dollars and where you put it,
Yep.
where would you say your top two areas are?
The biggest part is always for the construction cost. Building stores in America, especially a new store, that we have to allow a lot of errors and innovations, is very costly. Especially come to New York from New Haven. It's very rare for a company from other towns come to New York and survive and really thrive in New York. And we made it because we have all the resources allocated, we have all the time spent on it, very hard working, and all the talent we have to make it work. But in the meantime, that's one of the largest spending for us. But also keep the team. Keep the team that usually doesn't exist in the restaurant business. It's very important. So it's not only from the kind of monetary perspective, you need to spend more money, capital on it to support a larger team than usual, than a restaurant group. But in the meantime, you have to keep growth. So when people stay in a team, they have to see, I'm doing something great. So I see the trajectory is rising so much, I feel the future is very bright. So we have to keep the whole trajectory grow really fast. So it push really hard to grow as well. So that's another part. Like, you have to make the business model work for this whole system to make the talent stay, in the meantime grow organically. Not everyone is ready for a startup environment. So we choose the one who is passionate about it, or who think, oh, I think my corporate life is so boring, I want something more fulfilling. I feel more ownership with it. Ownership not only from the feeling of I'm doing this, I own it, but also we do give options for every team members as a startup company. So we're not like two owners own everything, but everybody else is just employee. Everybody is basically owner, a piece of that. And then we give opportunity in investment, because as a team member, you know a company growing has a lot of hope, opportunities. You kind of, financially, maybe I can also invest my saving into this. So in the future, I get more returns as well. That's another way to do this. But in the meantime, people really enjoy working at a place that I work with the brightest people I know, and on something nobody done before. That itself is a very unique challenge because you only have one life to do, you live with, and then doing something new and important is very important to a lot of people's life. 70% of our customer is non-Asian American who appreciates our food and service experiences without even know too much about Chinese culture. But we kind of start to build a new level of food experience based on the giant shoulder, right? So we know the importance of consistencies, and then we start thinking about, on top of that, how we want everyday food be there all the time like that, and you can trust. But in the meantime, we'll make it fresh, make it culturally authentic, make it healthier. But in the meantime, that's kind of the food I remember as well from my family I grew up with. Because in China, when we were grew up in the 80s and 90s, food is basically locally sourced and seasonal because we don't have other choices. And also cook from mom. You don't have McDonald's to go to. So start really thinking about the memories, although it costs so much time for my family to cook the food for me. But we still appreciate the quality, how much kind of emotions every food is involved with. So we start thinking about the memories, start thinking about why don't we have that kind of food that created based on this kind of new form of business model that we can make everybody's life easier, but with a better taste and also very authentic Chinese flavor. So that's why I was trying to start with Junzi, is about the idea at that moment, think about food I have a memory with, and think about gap we have about Chinese food in America, and think about how we can make my friends, American friends, happier because I can serve them better food. That trimbing and that noodle bowl is always good because you can put together different things and it's all very simple. And put all together is in the sauces, and that's great flavor every day. So these foods that I think about, okay, I already been very consistent in China with kind of a home cooking environment, but down the road you can make it better, then it could be very consistent. Also still very delicious. We can find a few things that actually work in our current environment, so that will work.
So, I mean, the noodles are pretty self-explanatory, but the bing, is this a traditional
Yes.
food, right? And did you manipulate it in any way for the American market, or is it pretty much as it's made in China?
Definitely we add kale. We have to.
There we go.
Beef on white.
Need an MP?
Xuhui, you're the director of real estate development and architectural design for Junzi.
Yes, so I graduated from Beijing's Tsinghua University in 2012. So just to give you a sense, it's like a Chinese version of MIT. That's how they think about Tsinghua in China. So there's a lot of emphasis on technology and also making physical things done or happen in my education backgrounds. So after graduation, I went to Tibet to finish my final thesis project. It's a small community center as part of the kind of reconstruction for the whole area, because the area was suffered from earthquake earlier. So that is the moment that really exposed myself to the reality of getting something designed and built and working with the local workers and the clients, the government, and making something into reality. And that's a big learning. So that's kind of transformed the way I think about design, what design can do, what it means to the local people, and how design as a way of transforming the reality can shape the local culture. I think it's a really a great thing. And then, actually, I deferred my graduate study back in 2013 because I want to finish this project. So after the completion of that project, I went to the United States and continued my graduate study in Cornell University. It's also architecture design. And after graduated, I went to work for a big corporate firm. It's called Paycop Freight. I was founded by one of the kind of most recognizable American architect. His name is I.M. Pei. That is the moment I kind of learned the whole process of how the designs being put together to be understandable by all the parties, including the builders and the government and owners, and make into reality in the American context. That is a totally different system and total different mechanism of how things get built from where I am from. So that's a great learning. At the meantime, I get to know the Junzi people, and I start doing some side projects as a start, and gradually that grows into what we're doing today. IMP sort of invented the structure of a corporate design office. So that's emphasized on a very systematic way of designing and get something built very efficiently. That's very different from the way I worked on the Tibetan project. Junzi, I think, is closer to the Tibetan project side. It's more like really hands-on. And especially, we had a very small team at that moment, so we have to work out everything from kitchen design, kitchen equipment sourcing, all the way to like furniture designing and lighting selections, everything, and working on all the plumbing, electric with the local contractors. There's a lot of on-site changes during the process. Actually, Yong was helping with the site supervision. Back in the days, we started the first store, designing the first store in New Haven. Like we have very little information or knowledge about how to design a restaurant because it's like the first time for all of us. So we did a lot of research, and also we got quite some assistance from friends and consultants. So there's a very good metaphor saying, so being an architect designer or a designer, you're actually dancing with a chain. So it's always about balance between building an aesthetic experience versus the functionality of the design result. So that's especially important for a restaurant business. On the one hand, you are creating the kind of optimize the hospitality experience for your customer. You want people to get in and also enjoy their time in the store. At the meantime, you try to make the overall operation flow to be as efficient as possible. So the way we do it is actually there's always a distinction between the front of house and back of house. And the way to deal with two separate areas are very different. Back of house is really about efficiency, and we're in the continuous process of trying to have a better understanding of our own operational flow through communication with our operation team and also with our chef. We're always changing, like for last 2 years, like we're changing every 2 months to make these things more efficient, and we're building a standard as well. Front of house is more, I would say, more artistic at the beginning, but because of the way we envision our brands, as Yong just mentioned, we're looking for another 200, 2,000 stores. So we're building also a kind of system that can make the brand duplicate, but at the same time evolve by itself. It's like a component or module-based system with a built-in flexibility of, we say, 30% that can addressing the locality when you move into different neighborhoods. But that is, in general, the way we're designing the whole system. But I think because we're in this millennial era, and the aesthetic tendency and people's preferences are changing. So we're really thinking about building something that can change through time as well. We did the Bleecker store very specifically to address the local culture and vibe of Bleecker Street, West Village. That's so unique in the whole New York City context. The Bleecker store, we designed the bifolding door. That's where we met on the street.
We did.
So this is really important, the kind of embracing the street life of the West Village. This is very important, especially from my architecture background. There was a very kind of recognizable scholar, Jane Jacobs. She used to live here, and she thought West Village is kind of the best example of modern cities, the scale of the street and the street level activity, and which is very beneficial to the retails and to the local business owners. That's people today realized what is the more pleasant way that a city environment can accommodate people's living.
Thank you for joining me this week on The Makers, brought to you by Trade and Prosper. Follow us on your preferred listening channel for new episodes released every Monday. Tune in next week for a conversation with Carolyn Ray about her journey through fine art to starting Carolyn Ray Incorporated, a company that designs and produces original, modern, handmade classic interior fabrics and wall coverings.